Okay, so building off of our talk on Monday, just to kind of reiterate a little bit, going over just high school development. Julian, I don't know if he's in here today, wanted to go over training, high school age sports, and some of the common injury risks. And when I was making up this lecture, I thought this was a really great opportunity to focus on also a very overlooked and underappreciated aspect of the role that high school sports and training for those sports can play on the development side of a student athlete in that age group. So just to reiterate from what we talked about on Monday, when it comes to actual sport and sport training, we need to understand that it's not exclusive to the gym, right? Sport equals life and life equals sport. I want to kind of go into that just really quick. Someone on the spot, Lauren, great, thanks for volunteering. So when we think about sport and life, right? We talk about, it's fine. No wrong answers.
Okay.
We're just gonna roll with it. We have sport and life. When we talk about sport is an expression of human movement, okay? How is that related into everyday life?
Well, the way you play your sports, the movements that you do they can mess up your everyday life if you're doing it wrong.
Can, absolutely. Would you say that some movements in sport are also very similar to movements in everyday life?
Yes, and vice versa, they could help in everyday life as well.
Exactly, yeah. So movement isn't just exclusive to the gym, isn't just exclusive to sport. Movement is a factor of life. And if your focus on movement is only when it comes to your sport, but in your everyday life you're not making that connection, your bad habits that you're doing way more often in your everyday life, let's say you're sitting down to a chair or whatever, and you're buckling your knees, caving out, and that's your motor program, that's your habit, and then you're playing volleyball and you're getting set up for a volley or for a serve, and you're doing this while you're bending your knees, you can see where that starts to come into play. Is that starting to make sense so far? Some of the new people in here? Yeah, okay, cool. And so habit that builds up can leak its way into sport, and one of the important things of understanding that and getting that point across when you're trying to educate these kids and train them is getting them to also see that the stuff that they're doing in their everyday life as an expression of human movement is going to affect their sport and vice versa, because sport is just a more artistic expression of human movement. I gave the example on Monday of you two watch soccer or like professional sports on anyone. You see an athlete who's like really like Pele for soccer, or Mike Trout baseball, Ken Griffey Jr.'s baseball swing, or Michael Jordan, right? They're handling the implement or whatever they're using, and it's almost like that implement's a part of their body. It just kind of flows and it's majestic and it's artful in a sense. Or if you look at gymnasts or Olympic weightlifters, right? It's a very artistic movement sequence of events that they're moving their bodies through, and we find those same exact movement patterns in everyday life. You maybe just not at the intensity of professional sports, but still it's there. There's a relationship. So we really want to make sure that point's driven home, because that's foundational to everything. Not to beat that point, but bad movement leads to injury. That's how injury happens. Non-contact overuse injuries. I gave the example of the high school weight room, and we looked at some of the common injuries in sports, and then trying to get the fundamentals to not be so mundane and boring, actually making them engaging and fun. Just like these lectures, I try to make them a little more engaging and fun than never just sitting here and just taking in information. I want to make sure you guys are getting yourselves involved as well, trying to make it fun and not something you feel like you have to do. So that was what we went over on Monday, and now that that's done, I want to get into the actual adolescent development outside of the gym, what's going to have a more lasting impact on their livelihood moving forward. So some of the points I want to break down, goal setting. I'm sure everyone here has heard of SMART goals, but have you guys know what SMART goals are, what the acronym stands for, right? So we have specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And when we think about setting SMART goals, and the acronym, the order that the words are in, if you think about it, is profoundly important. And I'll get into that in a second, but here, when it comes to common goals, I'm going to relate this to us training our current clients and why we have goals set with the way that they are. But how many of you have gone to a consultation and you ask for someone's goals, and this thing you say is, I want to get fit.
Yes.
Thank you, Captain Obvious. Like, not to be insulting, but I would hope that that's why you're here. I hope you're here to get in better shape and get fit. No one's pointing a gun to your head saying you have to go to the gym or else I'm going to kill you and your family. Right? This is something that you want to do. You want to get in better shape. Awesome. But is that a smart goal?
Nope.
According to the acronym? Why not?
It's not specific.
You're right. It has none of these parameters to frame what that fit actually means, because fit can mean something completely different between two different individuals. Right? If you have someone who's a 70-year-old client or a person who wants to get fit, their idea of getting fit or function, I really don't like using the word functional because it's butchered, it's relative to the individual. Functional for one person is different than functional for another person. And using an example, I want to get fit or I want to maintain function, for that 70-year-old person is going to take on a different meaning than someone who is in high school. You can think of the obvious reasons why. They're just different parts of their life, different immediate demands, right? Someone in a high school sport versus someone who is older and just trying to maintain their independence. So just saying get fit, it's not specific enough. You have no idea what that actually means for that person. And so it's really important that you start narrowing down and framing what that is. So when we look at the order, we have specific, right? So specific frames the rest of the goals. You can't assign a measurement. You can't understand if that's even going to be attainable. You have no idea if it's even realistic or a time limit you want to frame or place the goal that you're trying to achieve in. And so this is first because it sets the table for the rest of the acronym, right? So it's specific. What are some of the examples of something specific? What can we say would be like a specific goal?
I'll make a bullshit one. Try to do like 5 push-ups by the end of the month.
Right. Okay. And so why is that specific?
Because it tells us what the person wants to accomplish by the end of the month, and then from there, like what it's going to take, pretty much to get there.
Has a number to it.
As a number.
Right. That's number 5, right? 5 what? Push-ups. Great. Right? That's a fantastic start. I'm going to be able to do 5 push-ups, right? Awesome. Specific. Now we have something to go off of, right? And there's a framework. Now we can see, okay, how are we going to even measure this? And why is measuring, actually, before I get into measurement, when we're looking at that client that wants to do 5 push-ups, what's the benefit of actually dialing that in? Anyone think?
I mean, there's upper body strength.
Well, yeah, but let's think about business, right? And even though it's not all about money, you still have to make a living, okay? And if you have a client who has an expectation, right, I want to be able to do 5 push-ups, and we haven't really met that goal yet, we want to have all our things together saying, okay, well, this is what our expectation was, and this is where we are now. I kind of gave you the answer already, but a benefit would be having a specific goal to start off with. When it comes to maybe the re-sign, if they want to keep training with you, right? Do they have even a good reason to keep training with you? Did you narrow down their goals? Do you have something that they're actually looking towards trying to achieve? Because if you don't, if it's just like, I just want to get fit, right? And you have no idea of what fit actually means, and they're done with their sessions, how do they know they got fit? They showed up to the gym a few times and trained with you, and that counts, I guess? I don't know. Who knows? So it gives you a measure, or not really a measure, but something to frame the whole plan, the whole program around, being able to do, let's say, 5 push-ups. And so when we go into measurable, and I'm gonna relate this back to the adolescent, don't worry. When we go to measurable, why is having a measurable goal important?
So you can know how well you are doing throughout the month.
Okay, so keeping track. What else? There's one other thing I have in mind. It's kind of related to keeping track. What's the big reason why people get trained, Mike?
Accountability.
Yes. Thank you. Perfect. Accountability, right? Is that accountability just from the trainer making sure that the client is coming in and doing their stuff?
Nope.
Or is it a two-way street?
Two-way street.
Two-way street, right? Accountability in both ends, right? It's a contract agreement, right? This is how we're gonna measure. I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure we meet these measurements, and I want you to do the same thing so we have a common understanding, we agree on the terms, the conditions of the I guess, more or less contract. So we have attainable and realistic, and these two words are similar, but they're also different. They have different meanings, and when it comes to the order, there's a reason why they're in the order that they're in. So if we have the specific is the first letter in the acronym, and that sets the table for everything else, because you can't assign a measurement, you can't do anything else until you have a specific goal in mind, and then the measuring, the accountability to that goal is the direct next thing after that. When it comes to realistic and attainable, anyone want to try to see what, or volunteer to try to figure out what the difference between the two is before I tell you the answer?
I'm thinking like attainable would be, would this be something that they would actually be able to achieve? And then realistic is like in the real world, is that something that they would, is it realistic? I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, that's, I get what you're kind of saying. This is the 30,000 foot viewpoint, right? So the big picture, 30,000 foot view / big picture. So like, is this even possible, right? So if someone says, I want to gain 20 pounds of muscle by the end of the month. Okay, maybe it's a specific goal, 20 pounds of muscle. It's measurable, you can measure that. Is it attainable in a month time frame? Probably not, right? Very likely no. And then the difference for that in realistic is, this is attainable, like in general, is this realistic? And then, or attainable. And then the realistic is for this person in particular. Is this gonna be possible? So we have someone who says, I wanna gain, let's say, or I wanna lose a pound of fat and gain 3 pounds of muscle by the end of the month. Sure, just throwing numbers out there. But in general, big picture, is that possible? Absolutely, right? Let's say this person that's saying that is a 80-year-old person who hasn't worked out a day in their life and is now coming to the gym for the first time. Is that realistic? No. So now you start seeing the difference, why it's attainable and then why there's realistic. So if it's not even attainable, right, in general in the first place, that's where it stops. Start over, right? Don't invest any more time in that goal because it's not. You gotta restructure some things, okay? But if that checks off, it's in general attainable. Now you look, okay, individually for this specific person. I'm gonna go like, I should say specific to individual. Now I can start seeing, okay, is this, are the specific things that you're looking for and the ways that you're going to measure it, is this even possible for this person? It's possible in general for a human to do this, but for this person with what they've got going on in their baggage, is this even possible? And then finally, timely, right? This is the last one because, okay, yeah, it's specific, measurable, it's possible, and it's also possible for this person. Now, what's the time frame that we're going to actually try to accomplish this by? And in the general sense, not just when for development, but let's just talk about practical application for us immediately. You can start seeing where if you have these SMART goals, how that when it comes to having someone continue training with you, getting the re-sign, why that's so important. Because you have all yourself laid out, right? Not only that, from the very beginning, you've shown your professionalism in that, look, I'm taking this seriously. I want you to take this seriously. This is going to cost you time. It's going to cost you money. And you're going to have to put your trust, time, and money in me when you essentially don't know who I am, right? So you're right off the bat in that consultation, you're showing this is what I have planned for you. This is where your money is going to be investing in, your time, money, and your body. This is what we're investing in. So already, even just getting that person to sign up with you, that's already a big comforter. Having, okay, this person may know what they're doing, right? At the very bare minimum, may know what they're doing. But then when it comes to that re-sign, if you just had a broad goal, no real specific parameters to it, and it gets to that point of re-sign, and you reflect back on what you guys went over in the last couple weeks, a few months, whatever, how long you're training for, and there's no real like guiding thing or guiding principle, guiding thought that you can use as evidence to say this is why we need to keep going, keep doing what we're doing. And it was just you just working out, doing whatever. And then the person have no reason to sign with you because we just worked out. There was no real focus, no real goal, no purpose to this package. Why am I going to keep throwing money at this when I don't even know if I'm getting a return on my investment? Is that making sense so far? Because this is really what it is. You're looking for a return on that investment. So if you're to go like and invest money in stocks, you're going to expect that the money you're putting in is going to grow, right? You're going to expect that the money you're putting in to your training is going to benefit you and grow you in one way or the other. Does that make sense so far? So like when it comes to and how this relates to the high school adolescent, we can agree that it's easier for us to learn good habits when we're younger, right? If you don't have a habit of, let's say, filling your, I shouldn't say air tires because that's you have to do that when you're older, but let's say cleaning up after yourself, right? Cleaning dishes, cleaning up your room, doing whatever, right? And no one's ever held you accountable for that. Your parents did it all for you. That's just something you never had to think about. And now you're living on your own, okay, with 1,000 other things on your plate that you have to handle. And now you have to also learn the habit of cleaning up after yourself and doing things for yourself. Would that be easier to have learned when you were younger, had less things to worry about, less things to think about? Now that you're older, you have to learn it, right? See where I'm going with this? So when it comes to the development side and actually having a sport where you have specific goals, measurements, and those sorts of things like improving your mile time for, let's say, a cross-country runner, or having a stronger throwing arm for a pitcher, having being able to track it on a radar gun how fast the ball is going. You can actually use that goal setting skill, that life skill that you're developing or helping them develop, is not only going to relate to that sport or the training for that sport, but also in other areas of your life, because you're saying that habit, and these habits are all universal. So you see where I'm trying to go with this, where the child is learning the habit of actually being able to set up specific, measurable, and attainable goals instead of having these general ideas like, oh, I want to be successful, I want to get fit, I want to be successful. Great, I would hope you would want to be successful, but how are you going to get there? What steps are you going to take to get there? How are you going to keep yourself accountable? Is this something that you're setting yourself up for failure for in the first place because you're trying to be a quadrillionaire and that amount of money doesn't even exist yet, right? And so you don't want someone to not have the framework for that way of planning out their life, where they may be setting themselves up for disappointment and then having that disappointment lead to lack of motivation and then a downward spiral from there where they just don't think that this one thing didn't go right, nothing's ever going to go right, and I'm just not going to try in the first place. It starts becoming a very vicious cycle. So and that's why I put that first, because again, I say this phrase a lot, sets the table, but it really does help give a kid like a system of thinking, because you got your parents their parents tell them this all the time, but it's mom and dad. Not gonna listen, right? We were all 15, 16 years old at some point in our lives. Didn't want to listen to mom and dad. So, but if you have coach telling you that, or someone you look up to who's not your parents, that's, I mean, you guys play sports, or did play sports? What sports did you two play?
Football and boxing.
Football and boxing, okay. So, I mean, let's take your boxing coach, for example. What was some advice your boxing coach would give you that your parents probably told you 1,000 times, but you just never wanted you to do it?
I mean, work hard. That's
Okay, yeah, but it's taking on like a different meaning, right?
Yeah.
But let's say, what does your coach say about hydration or
Yeah.
nutrition, right?
Yeah,
Nutrition.
stay hydrated, like a pint for every pound of body weight, stuff like that. Give advice.
Yeah, sure. Or like maybe when it comes to like eating, or some
Eat healthy so you can compete.
right. So, but when you're a kid, your parents telling you that,
Yeah.
you're in one ear out the other.